I'll entertain a motion to open the meeting.
Motion to open the meeting?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Number one on the agenda will be Construction Management LLC, the Old Shaw's Plaza. They're gonna knock it down, I'm only kidding. You gonna wait for the engineer to?
No, they
Oh,
can
wait.
No, I
start.
think we'd start. Is that members of that group here?
Sure, right here. You ready for us?
We're ready.
All right, let's get going.
Motion to close, no more.
Thank you. Who wants to wait for Noreen or gets right
You
started?
can get started.
All right, thank you very much.
Get it going.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Members of the Planning Board. Pleasure to be here tonight with Adam Winstanley. Everybody knows Eric. And the Winstanley purchased the Shaw's Plaza. We've all been waiting for the news as to what the development is. They have gone ahead and put their substantial finances at risk in moving the project along. I'll let them report to you directly. But they have the property fully tenanted, which is a wonderful thing.
That's great.
And they are moving forward and expect to have some exciting news for you. Just to give you an identification, Winstanley is a very successful developer involved in multiple states with industrial, commercial, some residential, and retail, as you've seen. Very successful, very talented, very classy outfit. And I think it's a blessing that they're here in Stoughton so that they can move forward with this project. They certainly have the finances to do it. They have the ability, they have the talent, and they've shown that they're going to get it done. So I'm going to first introduce Adam Winstanley, who will go ahead and represent the developer. You'll see the plans down there. That says Winstanley in the bottom, and that's where he comes from. And Eric, again, will be able to assist you, and they'll identify first. I think everyone's concerned about the food reuse. There is also a major development issue that they'll tell you about in terms of a junior tenant, and they also have just signed a letter of intent with Friendly's that I'm sure you'll be interested in. Okay, Adam, if you would.
Thanks.
So Eric, why don't I kind of open up and then maybe we can walk everybody through the plan. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to come in tonight and talk about our project. Obviously, we've been busy at the center and appreciate the support of our tenants. We have a number of our tenants are here tonight as well. So my name is Adam Winstanley. I'm one of the founders of Winstanley Enterprises, which is a family-owned real estate investment and development company that's based in Concord, Mass. We are active in the Northeast with a wide range of different projects. We look for mostly redevelopment projects that we think that our company can use our skills in property management and construction. So I've personally I've done a lot of different retail, what I call turnaround projects, where we buy centers that have kind of fallen into disrepair. And then we try and reconfigure the centers in some cases. So like we have a project in Chelmsford where we bought a larger property and we reduced the size of it, rehabbed it in the downtown, and have released it. I've bought failed malls before and figured out ways to turn them around and make them successful again. But our company is not just in the retail business. We're building Alexion Pharmaceuticals' new corporate headquarters in New Haven, which is a large $200 million project. We're active in the life science space in New Haven and other locations. We have operations in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, or we have a lot of properties in Connecticut. So we have a large residential project that we're doing in Windsor, Connecticut. And we have a project in Boston that we're going to be kicking off soon as well. So, we work in a lot of different communities. This project was attractive to us for a number of different reasons. When I first showed up and kind of drove around the community, we felt that the property and the community deserved a lot better than what was there. And so we decided that we wanted to move forward, and we felt with some of our tenant relationships that we might be able to convince some tenants to relocate here with a solid plan of redevelopment. One of the number one complaint when we were in the due diligence period studying the property was the tenants were complaining about the roof and the amount of roof leaks that were coming down into specific tenant spaces. So right after we closed, the first thing that we did at the property is we changed out all the roofs with brand new Carlisle roofs with a 20-year warranty to stabilize the asset so that it wouldn't take in any more water into our tenant spaces. From there, we developed these plans, which maybe Eric can walk through in a couple minutes, but as everyone can see, we have commenced construction before we actually got all of our deals done. We actually signed our anchor supermarket lease, who is going to be Price Right, last night at 5:30. So they are going to be opening up a new 35,000 square foot store. We signed a 10-year lease. And Price Right is a division of Wakefern Food Group, which is one of the largest food cooperatives in the U.S. They have, it's based out of Edison, New Jersey. They have somewhere like around 15 or 16 billion in revenue. It's a very large and successful company. And what Wakefern does is they use their buying power of the entire cooperative. So in New Jersey, they have a division called ShopRite. All of the corporate-owned stores are actually run through the Price Right banner. And they use their buying power to offer very, very good prices to the consumer. And they have over 4,000 branded products in the store. And my understanding of what's been reported in the Globe is that the two supermarkets that have the best prices in Massachusetts are Aldi's and Price Right. There's no other supermarket that can deliver, better pricing than them. So they're going to come in and fully renovate the store. We are taking care of what I call the base building improvements. So we've taken care of the roofs. There's a facade renovation that's underway. We took out all the sidewalks across the front of the property, and we poured all new sidewalks. Underneath the canopy, we've taken all the old tile that was in the canopy out, and we've put new LED lights are going to go underneath the canopy. So like when you're walking, to the stores, if you look up, it's going to be relamped in there. The entire site is being converted over to LEDs. So the site right now, and I apologize to the fact that the site is a little bit underlit right now that it's getting darker in the afternoon. There are some very old site lighting here, and everything is going to be relamped with LEDs, including any wall packs that are on the sides of everything. It will be changed over. New signage just got dropped in this week. Inside of each peak, we're doing another nice touch. We're putting LED rope lighting inside of each triangle peak so that it will wash down some nice white light onto the facade. Eric, can you think of any other improvements? I mean, other than, we're going to, all the deferred maintenance is being tackled. We're redoing the back of the property. It's going to be all new asphalt. Once we're done with the winter season, we'll be resealing and striping the entire lot, adding some additional landscaping. Pretty much everything at the property will be tackled so that when we open up, Price Right will start construction January 1st. It'll be approximately 5 months of construction for them. And so kind of the April-May timeframe, we should have everybody open at the same time. Our other news is we've signed a letter of intent with Sonic to take the Friendly's out parcel. Sonic is a fast-growing hamburger chain from the south. This would be their third store in Massachusetts, and that would be a demolition and a new construction for that particular site. So we would have to come back in for site plan approval, which we will be coming in shortly with a new application for that particular site. We terminated the Radio Shack lease at our property, and we are working with two of our tenants to relocate to create a 10,000 square foot junior anchor position. That lease has been signed, but it's an escrow pending one state approval that needs to be done, but it's going to be a store that we'll be able to announce soon. It's a very exciting store and build-out that will have a very significant investment in the space. It will round out our tenant mix and will bring our property to full occupancy. So right now, we're technically 100% leased. We won't have everybody open until the spring of 2015.
Just a couple of points. Welcome, first of all, to Stoughton. Please don't judge our attention to landscaping by the current structures you see along Washington Street. There are 3 projects that are currently in progress with substantial landscaping enhancements to Washington Street. And certainly this board's hope is that you'll follow in their footsteps in terms of the beautification and curb appeal of those other establishments along the way, because it's clearly one of the objectives of the planning board to dress up the curb appeal on Washington Street. So we hope that your
Absolutely.
landscaped architects has a chance to take a look at some of the things that are being done by the Cumberlands and the car wash and et cetera. So appreciate that. Good news as far as getting tenants to the town and to the residents. I guess at this point I'll turn it over. Mike, you have a question?
Sure. Thank you. Excellent presentation. My question would be, are you going to have any video cameras around in the area? I'm just curious.
We don't have any immediate plans to put video cameras on our site. I mean, I think we look at each property on a site-by-site basis. I think the tenants will maintain some amount of security in their individual stores, but we don't plan on putting cameras into the parking lot per se, if that's what you're asking.
I'm a firm believer in cameras, but I was just curious if you could do it or couldn't do it or what, or maybe you can talk to whatever later down the road. So I'm a firm believer in landscaping too, and I would like the entrance going into the mall. You're going to widen it.
So
I
right.
see the plans with all
Yeah,
that.
I mean, Eric, do you want to just kind of walk through the facade changes and any other changes that make any sense to talk about?
I think Adam did a good job giving an overview of the changes. It's really the new gables, the facade, the lighting,
Columns,
the
sidewalks.
columns, sidewalks, the parking lot will be restriped and resealed. At this point, for the entrance, touch the entrance. All right. I think we're fully cognizant of when we come back before this board for the Sonic. And at that point, I assume there's going to be some requirements.
Just as a
That.
general operational, I think one of the things that's important to note, so this property is going to go into we consider this property a long-term hold property. And, we are a local company. We're based in Massachusetts. We're not a REIT, or we're not based in California.
Dunkin' Mass, that's a famous place.
Yep, shot her around the world. So we're relatively local. We are hands-on operators. So we have to this particular project. So Eric is the asset manager. There's also a property manager. We have a facilities person that's assigned to the site. We have a construction person from our construction group that's assigned to the project. So we have a great team of professionals that care about our projects and how they look. And I think if anybody wants to visit our website, which is winstanleenterprises.com, all of our projects are best-in-class properties in whatever community that we invest in. And I know that sounds like kind of a bold statement, but we do have...
Sorry. Shut it.
I'm sorry, sir, that
Sorry.
website was
WinstanleyEnterprises.com, and that kind of outlines a lot of our projects around the Northeast. And our projects, we have outstanding architectural design and operations. We pay very close attention to landscaping. We don't allow our properties ever to fall in disrepair. We make the capital investments that are required to make sure that our properties look better than anybody else's. And we like to stay involved in the communities that we invest in. We tend to look for follow-on opportunities, and so we will, once we get this first project done, a lot of times we will do multiple projects in the same community. And because our company, we work in residential, retail, office, industrial, life science, medical, and we're really in all asset classes. We're not constricted to doing one type of project, so we'll look at different types of projects. And we hope to, which we believe that this is a great property. It has a lot of potential. We're seeing the improvements have helped us get the leases that we need to get done here, and we're hoping that the environment that we create here will bring some vibrancy back, help our tenants that are here that have been struggling through some harder times with the supermarket moving out. We hope that their sales will continue to improve, and they're certainly living through some headaches right now with the renovation and trying to keep the customers coming in while we're pouring concrete out front. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but they've been working well with our team, and we're very excited to be here and are very optimistic about getting everything done and getting the tenants opened up. I think it's going to be a great project for the town and the area.
Liquor store, is that going to be staying there, the liquor store? Or is there negotiations to?
It's an interesting question. I think that's the tenant that
That's-
Adam alluded to earlier that we really can't talk about at this point.
Well, I was just mentioning because I hear all sorts of rumors.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, unfortunately, I can't
If
talk
you
about
wanna-
that,
yeah,
but
forget it. I'm sorry.
it's,
But something will be happening
but
somewhere.
something
All right.
positive will be happening in
Good.
that area that,
Because he's a
that-
decent man.
yeah, and so, that will,
Good.
within like 2 to 3 weeks, we should be able
Oh,
to,
good. So,
properly announce
You're
that
doing a
that
great
tenant,
job, so, which is excellent.
and that particular space will have a very significant investment that goes back into it, and so we feel good about that.
My next question is, I know people are going to hate me, but who's going to bury those telephone poles out there that I hate? Anyone in the town going to do anything about it? The one of your selectmen keeps shooting his mouth off. Nothing's being done. Does anyone have any ideas to bury those lines? Sorry. Nothing to do with you. You're perfect.
I would like to mention something, since you didn't mention the Friendly site. And I understand that tonight is a courtesy to the board, and we do appreciate your coming in. And because of that, I also want to give you a preview of coming events. And that is that last spring, the town went on the stretch code. And the planning board, pursuant to that movement, has required commercial projects. While we can't do it with the supermarket because you have not entered into site plan approval, it would be subject to Sonic would be putting in an electronic charging station. And I mention that now because you're still in the construction phase in the market, and it may make more sense to put that charging station in the supermarket aspect, which would count since you own the site, instead of putting in one of the spaces at the Sonic. And I just mention that right now while you're tearing up the parking lot and thinking about repaving and everything else.
Okay.
So,
Well, yeah, we obviously didn't know about that, but we can certainly try and figure out, a place to make that work. So I think that's kind of fits in. I mean, all of our properties, we started a year ago. We made a decision to begin to relamp all of our properties to LEDs, which are obviously much more energy efficient. So I think that, that will fit in with what we're trying to accomplish here as well.
while this is not formally a public hearing because they are not in site plan approval, I do notice members of the public here this evening, and as long as the conversation doesn't go on for a great deal of time, I'll entertain any questions from a member of the public that would like to raise the developers. Yes, Mrs. Fredkin?
A couple of questions I had in terms of takeout at Sonic. Is there going to be a drive-through or a window? Like, I'm just curious.
I will just say that since they are coming for site plan approval, I think that you'll have plenty of opportunity for that site. You'll have plenty of time to come back and get those questions answered. They may, if they want to defer to that.
I can answer it kind of off the record that the standard Sonic prototype that they have has a double drive-through. A double drive-through will not work on this particular site because of the land area. It's not large enough, so we've asked them to scale it back. But it will have a drive-through, and then they have a series of parking stalls, if you will, where people bring the food out to the parking stalls on roller skates. So it's a little bit of a different business model. Yeah, so they tend to go to the local skate park to hire people to get started working at Sonic, so.
So they skate, I never heard of that.
Yeah, so it doesn't work as well in the winter, but that's, they do it as much as they can. You know, if it's icy or whatnot, they may not do it, but, so obviously, you know, there is a process that we have to go through with the town, and we have to be compliant with all the rules and regulations, and we've only signed a letter of intent, so there's a little bit of work that needs to be done there, but we do intend to move forward shortly with that application, bring it forward with the appropriate engineering and support for the project, and the goal would be to try and get that particular site open, you know, with the junior anchor and the supermarket in the same time, and kind of the you know, the April, May kind of time frame, so that kind of everybody opens at the same time.
I have one more question. You mentioned the tenants that have been there. Is there a list, or is it inappropriate at this point? I'm curious who's staying and who's not staying.
Sure, I mean, I can answer it. So I think we've been fortunate, as Adam said, you know, we closed in April 8th, and I think hopefully within a year we'll be 100% occupied. We'll be 100% occupied without displacing any of the local tenants. You know,
So the people that are.
everyone who's there, we have a spot for them to stay.
And they just get to decide if they want to take the spot? I had asked, and, you know, sometimes I go
Yep, no.
someplace and I say, we don't know.
Two of our tenants are being relocated to make sufficient space for the junior anchor tenant.
Mhm.
But everybody is, so the nail salon and the pizza restaurant are both moving to new locations, and we're gonna build out
In that
new,
strip,
in the
oh.
same
In the
strip.
same strip.
Okay.
So one of them, nail salon will move over to where the old Supercuts used to be, and the pizza restaurant will move next to Price Right on the vacancy right there, and then the new junior anchor will take those two vacancies and the old Radio Shack to make the new larger 9,300 square foot space.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Curious, will the new supermarket have a deli?
They will not have a deli. No.
Did you want to see the rest of the boards, or?
Are there additional boards?
There
With
are
renderings
some additional.
for us,
I mean, this obviously is kind of what the rendering, what the center will look like. This is just something similar, it's not in color. So, left that for car. This is the site plan. Not much really to see here. This gives you a pretty good sense of the center's layout.
Excuse me, could you step
Come with
aside?
your body.
We can't see it, and we have, the camera's up there, so we are on television.
Oh, okay, I apologize. So this is the current layout of the center. Radio Shack, their lease expired and they vacated.
Want to hold this?
Sure. Sure. Touch Nails, who's an existing tenant next to all of the dry cleaners who's no longer here, will be relocating to the former Supercut space, to the left of the Price Right space. And Old Country Pizzeria, who is here, will be relocating to this vacant space to the right of the Price Right. So, and then the new tenant will take spaces 7, 8, 9, and 10 here, which gets us to full occupancy.
So for you, staying?
Brazil for you staying. Alvaldo's on a on a month-to-month lease, and we approached him to stay longer, and he likes it the way it is, and it works for us. So, we're happy to have him as long as he wants to stay.
Good.
One more question about signage. Is this too, far into the process in terms of what you're planning, lighted, unlighted?
So,
Similar
the,
looking, hopefully?
On the building itself, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
different businesses.
Yeah, so basically, signage is a good question. We're going to be, most of the tenants right now have backlit channel signage right now. They're going to be allowed to put their own signage up on the facade. That's pretty much it. So, I mean, right now, there's no, we've taken down everybody's sign, so it doesn't look great from the street, but once the facade renovations is done, everybody's new signage will go back up in their respective locations, and obviously the anchor tenant will come in with their signage, and they will, if you look at our new sign up front, you can see that there is a location for the anchor tenant that's not filled in yet. I suspect that they won't put that up there until they're getting closer to open, because they don't want people coming until they're ready.
Do you give people parameters? I mean, I'm not trying to be arbitrary, I just don't know. To say, so that the signs don't look kind of crazy in a jumble.
We do. We do have a lot of input on the signs. So, we have in our leases, we don't allow, flashing signs, and they have to be of a certain type of sign. So we try and keep a consistent quality and look with the signage. So we don't allow like box signs and things of that nature, so.
I mean, that's something of interest to some of the people.
And just for your own information, we have fairly stringent sign bylaws that are administered by a new zoning code officer, so that not only, you've heard it from the tenant, from the developer, but the town also does too. Sizes, square footage, and that type of thing too,
Right.
so.
I'm just, I'm obviously.
No, I just thought I'd tell you, since you asked that
It doesn't
question,
end up to be
that the
a lot.
town also does have some input into that.
Right, thank you.
Yes, Michael?
Is this the same price, right, in Brockton, and
Yes,
same company?
same company. Each store is different for each market.
Well, yeah.
There's different sizes. Price Right just opened up a 65,000 square foot store in Providence, so they have different sizes, and each one is a little bit different. They may stock different products for that community that they feel will sell. So they're not exactly the same, but it's similar.
But you were correct when you said their prices are very reasonable, because Alliance Club, we did some shopping and we went there, and they were the cheapest around.
Yeah, and
They
but
were unreal.
what's really good about their business model is that it's a lot of regular. I mean, they'll have. I talked to Price Right today. They'll have 4,000 branded products from major companies that we all recognize, but they're just at really attractive prices.
Yeah.
Because they're a very, very large company, and they're a cooperative, so they're getting that volume discounts from
Right.
companies like Procter and Gamble and whatnot.
Yeah.
So they use that huge buying power to get really attractive pricing into the stores. And as we all know, I mean, there's a lot of different types of supermarkets out there, and some supermarkets are very expensive. I mean, you go and get some of the basics, it costs you a lot of money. So, we think it's going to be a great fit for this.
It will.
They're going to do a very significant renovation, of their interiors. We've taken care of the exteriors. I think when it opens up and is part of the overall tenant mix, we're going to have a lot of great stores here that will service the needs of the community, and that hopefully people will be, happy to come back here.
Are they going to do fresh fish in their market? I'm just curious.
I don't know the answer to that direct question.
just curious.
I think that they're working on that right now, and exactly, all how it will be organized, because each one They don't have like a set prototype where
I-
they have to do a
yeah.
65,000 square foot store.
Like
So
you
they
mentioned
will-
about the cold cuts, they don't do cold cuts.
They did tell me that they will more than likely not have a deli, but I can't say it 100% that it definitely won't be here. But some stores, they do have a deli, some they don't.
It's a tough business. Doing a great job. Keep
Through
it
the
up.
chair, I have a question. I'd like to follow up on a comment from the public on the signage, because I think that that's very important to the board and to the town. We're in the process of revitalizing the downtown and in the process of getting, our house in order as far as signage and creating some uniformity. And I think that this would be really a good place to start to see how nice, signs could look on a building, because we're interested in fixing the facades in the downtown and making the signs more uniform, and maybe taking some of the signs out of the windows and things like that to make it more attractive looking. So I think that the signs are very important on this building, and we're hoping that you would look at that closely.
Yeah, no, we're in agreement with that thinking. Typically, our signage criteria is more strict than the average town that we work
Right.
in. Most towns are relatively liberal. They'll allow flashing signs, box signs, so we have in our leases very tight controls. It has to be approved by the landlord, and again, we're looking for a certain quality of sign, and so I think we'll be compatible on that thinking. And we're in agreement. I mean, if you have a situation, and as this lady said back here, if you have, a box sign, a flashing sign, and it's all a hodgepodge, it really brings the quality of a project down. It signage and lighting and decorative lighting is very important, and that's why, we made a decision to put some decorative lighting into all the peaks, which I think will be really attractive at night. And so when we finish all the relamping and everything else in the signage, I think the town will be very happy with what they see.
Thank you.
Nothing else? Thank you all. Yes, Mr.
Yeah, hi. Terry Schneider, Stoughton Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. I just wanted to welcome Win Stanley. We've been working together a little bit for a couple of months, and I know Eric has been very responsive whenever I've contacted him via email or otherwise. So anything that we can do as a chamber to work with them and with the town, it would be great. So I'm very excited about what's going on there and all the other areas in town. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Motion to open Forest Green subdivision?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that'd be great, absolutely. You're welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Andrunas.
Hello.
So we're coming to the
Conclusion.
tail end, the conclusion.
Tail end.
That's what it's supposed to happen.
That's right. So
Great.
it's gone, through the various departments and boards in this town. It's been an absolute pleasure to complete this project, and I'm proud of what's ultimately happened there. And tonight, we're looking to reduce the bond being held to reflect the work that we've completed.
I guess
It's a workman check.
we'll hear from Mr. Tisdale, the town engineer, on the progress of the project and where we are with the expenditures on infrastructure.
Anybody want a candy since everyone bailed out on us? You want one?
Oh, we're on TV.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Al came in for a full release of his surety on the project. As you know, our engineering department does all the inspections. Everything's been done very well. Al's been very cooperative. Everything looks good. Everything was pretty much built in substantial conformance with the plans. There's just a couple minor remaining items left. One is the crosswalk on Ash Street, Al actually constructed the crosswalk. There's a couple of things he has to do to change that, to make it ADA compliant. That is one item. The last item would be some of the street trees he just recently planted. Some trees weren't growing. There was a couple he had to add. We recommend the board wait at least through the winter and the spring to make sure those trees come back and bloom. So in summary, we are recommending that the board release $188,143 out of the surety. There was $225,771 total. So that would leave $37,628 left. And that's all out of the contingency. I should mention a big portion of that is actually part of the subdivision regulations requirements. For 3 years, the board's required to hold back $23,700, and that's based on $10 per linear foot of the road. So that's one thing that the board has to hold back based on the regulations. The remaining portion, the $14,000, will kind of holding that for the crosswalk until that's established and the trees.
Question, when you're ready.
Wait 1 second.
When you're ready.
Is the final coat been put on the road?
Yep.
I drove over, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
It sunk in one spot, I know.
no, they did a good job.
Of course they did.
We had the full-time inspectors out there. Yeah, they brought in good material, compacted everything well. So.
Question?
Yes, Mike.
So we make a motion to release 188.
Okay, wait, I have some questions.
No, I'm just saying when I
Okay.
make it, release 188,143 and keep 37,000, am I correct? When I make a
Yes.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to, as part of your packet, the last section, in case you were wondering what provision 14 said, what I did is I gave you the ZBA decision, and it's on the last page of the decision. And what I did is I highlighted it for you. And the town engineer mentioned that it was special condition number 14. And what I did is, that's the crosswalk. This was a condition when Mr. Andrews went before the zoning board of appeals. And that's what the letter refers to, that number 14 there, so that's what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yes, to me.
So when you said it was not ADA compliant, that's a ramping issue generally.
Yeah, essentially.
So what about the signage?
The signage is fine. Essentially what it comes down to is more of a process thing. He's just got to submit the plan. We talked about it, he's going to submit the plan.
We have a ramp on our side, we just don't have a ramp on the town side.
On the town side.
So, you know, I guess, you know, my contention was that we would go to the center of Ash Street, and the other side is the town, because there's a lot of crosswalks that the town has that aren't compliant, and where do we start and stop? So we did our side, but through the engineering department, we've agreed to submit a plan.
That's very nice of you.
And we'll build a ramp on the other side. Be done with it.
With respect to the crosswalk, I know that DPW has been creating prototypes all throughout the town with respect to those crosswalks. And I know it's a concern because I was approached by one of the residents in your complex, subdivision rather, concerned about that because that person has some small children. So I guess between Public Works and Mr. Andronis, we certainly want to make sure that that crosswalk is safe and continuous, regardless of where the line is drawn. If the town and/or the developer should make sure that it's complete from one side to the other, and not just stop the River Jordan in the middle. And
It'll be done. It'll be done.
That's what we talked about.
Saying they're going to do it.
So the key is he's going to submit a plan. We're going to review the plan. It's going to get funneled through the departments like they normally do, and then they'll construct it per the plan.
anything else?
I'd like to make a motion that we release.
No, I just want to make sure that
go ahead.
Maureen is finished.
Yes,
Oh.
yes.
You all done?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we release 188,143 and keep 37628. Am I correct?
Second to that motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good job.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Motion open general business?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's on general business?
Maureen, you want to start the discussion?
All right. First, just a reminder to the board when our next meeting is, just to put it in your calendar to make sure we all have the same date. We have December 11th,
Yeah.
and we have this particular meeting at 7 o'clock.
Why not earlier?
And we're having the downtown project is
Lauren.
coming in.
Daylight savings time.
Oh, this is at
Do you
7.
want it at 6?
No.
No, I just wanted to make sure I
no,
had
it's
the right time.
becoming.
I had the
yeah,
wrong time.
It's, yeah,
7, okay?
Yeah,
7 is.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think I already posted it.
No, it's
So
fine. I
it's
just had it
December
wrong.
11th at 7 PM. And so far, we have the downtown project on that agenda. We don't have any other projects, right, as of yet.
And that's our last meeting for the month?
For the year.
Noreen, do you think we might have any decisions ready at that
Yes,
time?
we'll have both the decisions. The hotel decision, Mark and I are reviewing that together. And then the YMCA decision. We'll have both of those decisions on the, but you'll get them in advance, though, to read.
Yeah, I
In
was just
advance
gonna,
of the decision, of
Okay.
the meeting. You'll have a chance to look at them. And I like
and
to
any
have,
price sets of plans that any other projects might have that are coming at that meeting?
I haven't received anything, any new proposals.
A lot of the projects are under construction now.
They really are. Nothing new on any other projects, no.
38 is a buzz.
No, we don't have additional information on the
Great.
downtown project, no. We haven't
Yes.
received anything.
My bladder's weak.
So we have to take a break.
Yes. Okay, I guess we can go back on the record.
Okay, so we're on. So,
We're now back on the record. For those of you watching,
Oh, we're on TV. Sorry, I gotta go.
before we went on break, we were talking about the next meeting schedule and the proposed agenda items.
that would be at 7 PM, the planning board meeting on December 11th.
7 o'clock.
We'll be meeting at 7 o'clock in the tennis room. And also, we'll be looking at the decision for the YMCA in the hotel at that time. I just wanted to open up the meeting for some of you folks out there perhaps weren't able to attend the public forum on October 29th, which was sponsored by the Redevelopment Authority. I know there's some confusion in the public that that was a master plan sponsored meeting, and it wasn't, but the reason it perhaps was confusing is that they're building on the blocks of the master plan during this process, so I think because the master plan, we used that evening, I think there was a little confusion, and as I understand it, they're going to have another public forum in January, and perhaps have more of a question for the public. You know, just explaining exactly what a revitalization plan is, and explain the powers of a redevelopment authority. And a lot of people had a lot of questions about
Yeah, I'm glad, Ms. O'Toole, that you found that they're going to be doing that, because a lot of people came to me afterwards and asked why there was no public question and answer period during the, at the end of the proceeding. People had questions, some of which were on the relationship between the two major projects. And also that evening, some confusion might have set in because Howard Stein Hudson was also represented, and that's a town-funded project. So I think the public is confused between the master plan, which was conducted by the town with town funds, the transportation project for the square, which is conducted by and funded by town meeting and directed by the town engineer, and the redevelopment authority's project in the square, which is being done by their own funds and with their own rules and regulations and controlled by them. So I think that some confusion may have set in about who's responsible for what, and how do all these things come together. And as I said, since Howard Stein Hudson was at the, doing a presentation at a couple of the tables, I think some people may have gotten confused as to whether the transportation was being directed by the Cecil Group or what. So hopefully we've cleared up that possible misunderstanding that members of the public who attended may have had regarding that.
So stay tuned, they'll be doing some advertising for their next meeting, which will take place sometime in January.
And the master plan is meeting next Tuesday, I believe.
Which is the 18th at 7 p.m.
And we'll be finalizing the economic development Phase 2 document.
Yes.
And soon we'll be releasing the final draft to the general public.
Motion adjourned.
Do we have old business?
Nope.
Anything?
There being no further business, Mr.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, 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 aye.
Good night.